Can you even swing a spot at this joint? My brother sneered. Then the sommelier approached with a grin. Good to see you again. Mess. Lena, shall I prepare your preferred booth? My mom almost choked on her cocktail. It began half a decade back when I turned my back on the life my kin had mapped out for me. They constantly belittled my ambitions, brushing off my love for baking as unworthy of our lineage, unbeknownst to them, as they assemble at Lumina, one of the city's premier dining spots, to toast my brother Jason's promotion. They're on the verge of confronting how profoundly things have shifted. My nerves twist as I smooth my modest navy gown. At times, the toughest bookings are with your history. Raised in Newport, Rhode Island, carrying the Harlan name signified a precise ideal. We weren't merely affluent. We embodied tradition. My folks, Victoria and Edward Harlan, crafted their personas around prestige symbols, the ideal postcode, elite academies, premium careers. Our grand estate organized galas where my mom would display us offspring like trophies. Her satisfaction scaled with how neatly we matched her blueprint for accomplishment. The Harlan offspring are bound for excellence, she'd declare at soirees, my dad affirming with a nod over his scotch glass. Jason's eyeing Harvard business, and Sophia displays real talent in economics. She'll excel in consulting. When attention swung to me, the youngest, my mom's grin would stiffen. Lena has artistic leanings, she'll carve her path. What she implied was I was the clan let down, while Jason dominated mock trials, and Sophia claimed science fairs. I lingered in our butler Marco's realm. The pantry, Marco, a kind soul from Italy, spotted in me what my parents overlooked, true zeal. You possess the touch for this craft, he'd comment as I assisted with rolling pastry or finely chopping herbs. The manner you sample, the way you inhale, you grasp cuisine deeply. By 14, I was inventing my formulas. By 17, I organized covert supper gatherings for peers during parental trips. The pantry turned my haven, where I felt utterly genuine. Baking? Domestic labor, my dad proclaimed when I broached Pastry Institute in my senior year. Harlan's employ patissiers. They don't turn into them. To placate them, I submitted to finance programs, ultimately joining Cornell, alma mater of my dad and grandpa. Yet there, I fostered my real calling, opting for gastronomy seminars and dietetics classes I could frame as enhancing finance studies. I launched a secret dining society in my dorm, levying fees from classmates for creative 7-dish feasts to finance my hidden sessions with regional bakers. My split existence persisted until post-grad. I was 4 months into a finance master's that left me deeply dissatisfied when pastry maestro Johnny Rossi, an Italian virtuoso with multiple James Beard nods, came to campus for workshops. After sampling my treats at a school event I aided in preparing, he drew me aside. Who guided you in crafting such a glaze? He inquired, his inflection rich yet intent, self-taught. I confessed, via texts, clips, trials. He offered his contact. You're squandering your gift here. Join my bakery in Boston. I'll shape you into excellence. That evening altered all. A fortnight on, I faced my parents in their pristine salon, outlining why I'd exit my master's to enroll in Baking Academy. The hush post my declaration was profound. This is utterly inadmissible, my dad eventually uttered, tone perilously soft. We've poured all into your schooling, all save regard for my desires. I retorted, my mom's features set. Chase this pastime. But sans our backing, monetary or else. Jason, visiting from his finance internship, chuckled icily. Ever the insurgent, curious how long you'll endure needing for pennies. Sophia, interning at a top advisory firm, merely appeared abashed for me. I departed that eve with solely my reserves and a compact bag. The ensuing 5 years proved tougher than prior experiences, logging 16-hour shifts, sharing a cramped flat with 4 others, borrowing for academy. But beneath Maestro Johnny's guidance, I flourished. The bakery's rigor, order, ingenuity, it nourished an aspect of me that finance never touched. Then arrived the chance that transformed all. A venture capitalist who savored my confections at one of Johnny's functions neared me with a venture idea. 3 years passed. Lumina unveiled its portals with me as head baker and co-holder. 9 months later, I acquired my associates to claim full control. The paradox didn't escape me that I'd applied my finance training after all, just not as my parents envisioned. Lumina swiftly became the toughest booking around. Just weeks ago, Gourmet magazine spotlighted us in their emerging American baking spotlight. Amid this, I kept aloof from my kin, sporadic awkward chats with my mom, seasonal notes, but zilch deep. They grasped I dabbled in sweets, but not of my true feats. I held it so purposely. I sought a claim for my feats on my conditions, not to at last gain their nod. Thus, when the gilded invite to Jason's advancement feast reached my loft, I was startled. More jarring was the venue. My bakery. Naturally, they couldn't realize it. Was mine, likely picked for its prestige and allure, ideal for flaunting their standing. After prolonged pondering, I opted to go, not for endorsement, but maybe to seal a phase, 5 years apart granted viewpoint. I stood firm in my triumphs now to confront them sans buckling under critique. What I hadn't foreseen was observing them indulge in my venue, faulting the very treats I'd infused my essence into. Yet that's precisely what loomed as I nudged open Lumina's ornate wooden panels that night. Primed to enact the faltering outlier once more, Lumina's signature aroma wrapped me upon entry. Vanilla pods, caramelized sugar, faint bloom of organic fruits I mandated fresh thrice weekly. Typically, this scent grounded me, evoking all I directed. This eve, it heightened my unease. I'd picked my ensemble thoughtfully, a plain navy gown that was truly Vera Wang, paired with a lone gold chain from my grandma. Restrained sophistication my prestige-obsessed kin would doubtless misconstrue as overreaching on scant funds, my locks in a neat bun. Another element they'd likely deem as skimping on salon visits. Carla, my veteran attendant, noticed me at once, brows lifting in query. I seldom entered as a patron via the main. I offered a faint head shake and whispered, "Hold off." She assented quietly and resumed tasks. From the foyer, I spied them already. They demanded the prime spot. My mom in Dior, my dad scrutinizing the dessert menu with feigned focus, Jason, clad in fresh Armani, beside a woman I didn't know. Kendra, I assumed, with polished nails and earrings that sparkled per gesture. Sophia and her spouse Derek rounded the scene, both in executive garb as if fresh from boardrooms. Elena, my greeter, neared with a cordial beam. "Evening, madam," she halted mid. "Slip, your group awaits. Shall I escort you?" "Thanks, Elena," I whispered, valuing her tact. As we neared, my mom spotted me, her gaze executing that swift appraisal from youth, a full scan tallying my look's worth and deeming it deficient. "Lena," she uttered, standing for cheek pecks. "You've made it at last. We pondered if you'd show." "I'm precisely prompt, Mom," I countered, glancing at my timepiece. 6 sharp, my dad rose, delivering a rigid embrace, concluding in a clumsy shoulder tap. "You appear vital," he proffered, which in Harlan lingo meant I hadn't upheld the near unhealthy leanness cherished in our sphere. Jason scarcely rose, presenting his cheek for my kiss. "This is Kendra," he proclaimed as his partner stood and offered her palm. Her clasp was overly tight, a dominance tactic I knew from myriad dealings. Stanford undergrad, Booth MBA. She presented herself, recently promoted to director at McKinsey. "No pleased to meet, or I've heard tales. Just quals and rank." The Harlan clan dialect. Sophia granted a warmer welcome. Though Derek's grin appeared forced, I discovered later she'd handled scouting this elite bakery for the feast, anxious if it'd satisfy all. "Well," my mom stated as I claimed the final chair, "we've selected sparkling wine already. Hope that's fine." I observed they'd picked our priciest bubbly, ostentatious yet prudent, standard, surrounding us. The bakery pulsed with the vibe I'd labored to foster. Illumination soft for coziness, yet ample to admire the intricate layering of each pastry. Noise calibrated for chat and seclusion. Seating arranged precisely. Near for buzz, distant for privacy. Each choice mine. From fabric gauge to bespoke stools that invited lingering sans discomfort. I noted the crew's muted responses upon spotting me with visitors. Paolo, my lead sommelier, met my gaze as he neared with the bubbly. A tiny brow arch asked if to recognize me. I delivered a subtle denial. "Fine selection," he told my dad instead, displaying the vessel with honed grace prior to decanting. Marking a promotion, my dad declared superfluously, evidently seeking perks. "Felicitations," Paolo responded fluidly. "Lumina is privileged to accommodate such an event. Astonished you snagged a slot," I remarked naively. "Word is it's challenging." Kendra leaned in, I have links, she stated with a smirk. So arrogant I stifled a sigh, pulled strings with an associate tied to the oversight. I held my words. The associate was probably Dana Ellis, a steady patron who sometimes sought spots for colleagues. I noted mentally to chat with her on Kendra. How clever of you, I murmured, lifting my flute to Jason and Kendra, an ideal duo and a bright horizon, my dad proclaimed. We toasted, and I sipped lightly, observing the bubbly at the exact chill I'd drilled into my team. So, my mom commenced, placing her glass and pinning me with her focus. Share what you've occupied these recent years. You've been enigmatic. The group's attention pivoted to me, 5 sets of eyes assessing, poised to critique. I've engaged in sweets, I stated plainly, evolving, advancing, still in that baking stage. Jason exhaled as if I'd confessed a lamentable habit. Figured by now you'd shift to something weightier. Not all endure the executive route, Sophia appended, rendering her backing akin to rebuke. Kendra seemed perplexed. What precisely do you handle? Pastry assistant, events, diverse duties. I replied ambiguously. I've donned various roles. We're relieved you're sustaining yourself. My mom uttered with that contrived benevolence I recognized. Though we've always noted our portals ajar if it grows too tough. I spotted Tomas, a seasoned server, nearing with the petit four, a mini orb of infused pear crowned with aged balsamic and a tiny leaf from a niche greenhouse. Gift from the bakery, he declared, setting one per diner, his eyes crossed. Mine fleetingly, a spark of allegiance before reverting to pro mode. Is this it? Jason queried, inspecting the lone morsel with letdown. I'm starving. It's a palate teaser, I clarified. A opener. The spread hasn't commenced. I grasp a petit four. Lena, he retorted. I'm not baking illiterate merely 'cause I pick business over toying with dough. I observed as they each sampled my invention. My mom nibbled tiniest, forever calorie aware. My dad engulfed whole, scarcely savoring. Sophia and Derek at least valued it, while Kendra dramatized dissecting tastes like a connoisseur. Employing mismatched terms, solely Jason bypassed his. I avoid vinegar notes, he stated, though the balsamic was distant from sharp. Matured for 45 days in controlled settings, a method I'd refined post 2 years trials. As our attendant cleared, I caught her dismay at Jason's ignored piece. Then, I felt guardian, not for me, but my crew, who held such honor in our craft. I'd forged Lumina not merely as a bakery, but a kin of types, linked by joint fervor over blood. The night was nascent, but the familiar pattern entrenched. I was the outsider, the one who selected wrongly, whose picks demanded defense. But unlike the Lena of 5 years prior, I now occupied this spot with concealed fortitude, one soon to flip this whole setup. So update on the promotion perks, I uttered, purposely redirecting to Jason as our subsequent offering came. A refined array of seasonal berries, fresh curd, and mint drizzle I'd honed over weeks. Jason illuminated instantly. We've locked a corner office. Naturally, team of 20, though mom suggests expanding to 30. The roster's swelling. My mom interposed. The Carver-Thompsons aren't on terms with the Lanes post that regrettable gala mishap, so no adjacent seating. I curbed a grin. The seriousness of their social math always astounded. 30 seems lavish, I hazarded, sampling the berry plate. It's alliance building, not mere fest, Kendra advanced. Many invites are connection stakes. Exactly, my dad concurred. Kendra gets the relational asset side. A feast this grand unlocks avenues. And you, Lena? Jason inquired, edge abrupt. Any leads your way? Or still absorbed in your baking? I noted he scarcely touched his, shoving berries round his dish with evident apathy. I'm centered on my vocation now, I responded plainly. Vocation? Sophia echoed with a chuckle. That's the term? My mom chimed. Lena, love, surely at 28, you're pondering stability. There's that fine lad of Victoria Langley's. He's in asset management, quite secure. I'm not seeking setups. Mom, your choice is narrow yearly. She pushed, particularly in your spot. Ere I could reply, our server materialized to remove the course. I'd hardly tasted my own work, too wound to relish. Issue with the offering? Tomas asked Jason, marking his near-full dish. Overly tart, Jason dismissed, and the berries might have been sweeter. I clenched. Those berries picked at prime that dawn from a coastal grower supplying us exclusively. Apologies for that. Tomas uttered with honed tact. I'll notify the bakery. The following arrived: grilled figs with honey glaze and foraged nuts, a seasonal highlight I cherished. As plates landed, I scanned my kin's responses. "This appears hopeful," my dad announced, slicing a fig. Kendra twirled her bubbly, a vintage I'd handpicked to complement this solid bubbly roster here. Not outstanding, but acceptable. Paolo, catching this nearby, flashed me a glance. I offered a faint smile. Paolo had been lured from an acclaimed spot in Milan and declined global bids to collaborate with me. "So, Lena," Derek started, evidently aiming to involve me. "Sophia noted you're in sweets, but you never detailed what." "Ere I could," Jason cut, likely ushering patrons, right, Lena? Leveraging that finance degree to guide folks and distribute lists. "In fact, I began, no disgrace," my dad overrode. "All commenced someplace. Though after 5 years, I'd anticipate progress. I've progressed," I murmured softly. "To what? Shift lead at a chain cafe?" Jason guffawed at his wit. "Jason," Sophia cautioned, displaying uncommon shield. "What?" "Just practical." She opted to ditch her studies for this whim. "Choices bear outcomes." I sipped bubbly, letting familiar bubbles steady me. "And how's business suiting you, Jason?" "Still at Mercer and Hale." His look tensed. "I'm transitioning roles currently." Actually, pausing to plan the team, he was logging excess hours. Kendra inserted. "I informed him my spouse needn't exhaust at some outfit post-wed. She can pursue philanthropy like my mom." I spotted a glint. Annoyance? Vexation in Jason's gaze ere he leveled to serene accord. The next offering came. A tartlet with wild mushrooms, prosciutto, and thyme. One of our hallmarks lauded in gourmet. "The serving here is absurd," my mom remarked, eyeing the elegantly arranged tartlet. "All this cost for 2 nibbles. It's quality above volume." "Mom," I answered, "the sampling array aims to guide through varied notes and feels." Back then, spots delivered real sustenance for cash. My dad griped. "This gourmet fad is merely hiking prices for scant treats." I watched Kendra stab her tartlet instead of slicing, fracturing the fragile crust I'd shaped manually that morn. "So, how are you funding a venue like this on bakery wages?" Jason queried outright. "This ranks among the city's costliest." I sensed all gazes on me. "I handle my budget wisely," I responded. "Come on," Jason mocked. "A feast here exceeds your weekly take likely. Who are you seeing?" "He covering?" "I'm solo," I stated calmly. "Then how possibly?" he urged. "In arrears? Charging max to feign." "Jason," Sophia warned anew, seeming uneasy. "No, I demand to know," he persisted. "We all adjusted agendas for this feast she proposed at one of the city's elite bakeries. Either fiscal folly or she's concealing her state." The subsequent arrived. A flawlessly roasted quail with plum reduction and quinoa. Pastry lead Sophia, who managed when I wasn't crafting, had nailed it. "This quail's rare," Kendra declared post-bite. I eyed her plate. The quail was ideal medium, as intended. "It's designed that way," I elucidated. "Medium suits quail breast best. I like my fowl done through," she asserted, beckoning a server. When Tomas neared, she addressed Sans glance. "This is under. Return and finish it right." I saw irritation in Tomas's eyes, swiftly veiled by courtesy. "Certainly, madam, regrets." As he claimed her plate, I met his gaze and nodded faintly. He'd instruct to craft fresh rather than spoil the current by overdoing. "Really, Lena?" my mom uttered once Tomas left. "You haven't addressed Jason's query. How are you funding this feast?" The table's strain was tangible. I felt the known chest constriction, identical to myriad kin feasts growing up, the feel of being trapped, appraised, deemed lacking pre-speech. But I wasn't that vulnerable youth anymore. I'd constructed something prideful, wholly mine. For an instant, I pondered unveiling all then, observing their looks alter as they grasped whose bakery they occupied, whose treats they'd faulted so casually. Ere deciding, Kendra's overdone quail returned, now void of all succulence and depth it once held. "Improved," she proclaimed post-bite. Though I could tell from afar it was arid and chewy, my dad beckoned the menu again. Another bottle, something grander now. As Paolo neared with the bound list, my dad dramatized review, finally indicating one of our premiums, a Chianti over $700. "This ought to suffice," he stated. I knew that vintage closely. I'd chosen it on an Italy visit last year. Conferring with the producer directly, it was superb, but mismatched for current and upcoming offerings. Might I propose a better match for lingering items? I suggested. My dad dismissed. I believe I know my vintages. Lena. Paolo caught my eye. Mutely seeking guidance, I nodded small. Allow my dad his choice, not the battle to wage. As the night advanced through last savory and to finale, a reimagined chocolate mousse that was a personal gem, the digs persisted, each offering faced some fault. Each input I offered twisted to proof of my shortfall. By espresso time, I was drained emotionally, the twin load of bearing kin disdain while seeing them carelessly critique my life's labor grew intolerable. Then the instant I'd feared and awaited. The tab. Carla neared with a sleek folder holding the bill, setting it discreetly central. My dad grabbed instinctively. Paternal habit, but Kendra snatched. Please, Edward, permit me, she uttered with rehearsed polish of one turning bounty to dominance. View it as my gift for the milestone. My dad feigned protest ere yielding. I watched Kendra open, her poise morphing from assured grin to veiled stun. At the sum problem? My dad queried, noting the shift. No, no. Kendra rallied fast. Just verifying math. I knew what she viewed. A feast for six with elite pairings, ad hoc asks. And that $700 Kiani would top $2,800. Not extreme for Lumina's level, but a declaration. She drew her purse, pulling a platinum card with measured pace, ensuring all noted the elite status. Jason, sensing her unease perhaps, looped back to prior probe. So, Lena, he uttered, tone laced with mock kindness, you never clarified how you're chipping in for this lavish feast. We wouldn't wish you straining funds for us. All gazes to me anew. I can manage my share, I stated plainly, but can you? He pressed, advancing. 'Cause we know bakery pay. Can you even swing this joint? The table hushed. The query lingered, so pointedly rude, even my parents seemed awkward. Jason, my mom whispered, maybe not. No, I insist on knowing, Jason maintained, eyes fixed. We feigned all's well all eve. That Lena's toss of her schooling hasn't stranded her. We merit candor. I felt heat surge from torso to cheeks, 5 years distant, forging my path in triumphs, and not altered, still the kin let down, still pressed to validate being. Kendra, maybe spotting chance to reclaim sway. Post-tab jolt. Joined. If aid needed for your part, speak up. No stigma. I need none. I uttered. Voice taut. Then how precisely paying? Jason demanded. Cause a feast here tops your weekly likely. I parted lips to reply. To unveil at last when Kendra frowned at the bill. Hold. Error here, she announced. They've billed only drinks, not treats. She beckoned sharply for Carla. Pardon. Flaw in our tab. Carla neared with impeccable timing. As if anticipating, truthfully, she likely was. My crew knew me enough to monitor this saga. Issue, madam? She asked. Yes, you've charged merely beverages, not the spread, Kendra stated. Indicating the bill, Carla viewed the tab. Then me. Look inquiring. That instant, I chose. The pretense had endured enough. I nodded faintly to Carla. No flaw? Madam, Carla uttered smoothly. The treat segments covered. By who? My dad queried, brow furrowed. Carla turned to me, Provenir yielding to cordial beam. Welcome again. Mess. Lena, your booth's set for your session with the backers. Need me to manage? The hush over the table was total. 5 pairs of eyes pivoted to me in mixes of bewilderment and incredulity. Thanks, Carla, I uttered, voice firm despite rush. Yes, settle a mess. Vaughn's drink charge. Rest comped as standard. Very well. Mess. Lena, she answered, claiming the folder from Kendra's lax hold. Pastry lead Sophia, noted she'd value your take on fresh autumn items when free. I'll swing by the bakery pre-session, I assured. As Carla left, I at last eyed my kin directly, their looks spanned. Puzzlement to stun to emerging grasp. What? What's occurring? My mom managed. I inhaled deep. The instant I dreaded and covertly awaited 5 years had come. Welcome to Lumina, I stated plainly. My bakery. The quiet extended eternally. My dad rallied first, look morphing from confusion to computation. Your bakery, he restated cautiously. You labor here? No. Dad, I specified, a odd serenity settling. I possess Lumina. I'm head baker and full owner. That's unfeasible, Jason erupted. This is among the city's elite. It's graced major journals. Yes, I Concurred. Gourmet weeks back. Sava Prior. Boston Globe awarded us top honors last year. Kendra stared as if I'd switched languages. But you mentioned sweets work, vague on all, 'cause I wish to observe your treatment if deeming me floundering, I explained. And you've clarified that tonight. My mom's hand darted to her necklace, her fallback when off balance socially. Dear, why conceal this feat? The stress on feet revealed volumes. Triumph rendered my pics acceptable retroactively, where zeal alone couldn't. Want the complete tale? I asked, scanning the group. Sans wait. I proceeded. Post-departure 5 years back, I relocated to the hub with meager savings, leased a small nook in a unit with 4 mates in Cambridge. For a year, I juggled 3 gigs, dough prep at a cafe from 4 a.m. to 11 a.m., assembly at a downtown spot from noon to 9 p.m., and weekend bakery turns. I drew water, noting their unease, slept 5 hours nightly, had calluses and scorches along my limbs, studied methods fanatically in sparse downtime. Maestro Johnny, who'd first spurred my baking pursuit, mentored me. I rose to his deputy within 15 months. Sophia eyed me with seeming real curiosity. Derek appeared awed. My parents froze in reevaluation. 2 years ago, at a Johnny event, a guest, Alicia Thorne of Thorne Ventures, tasted my signature piece and sought the baker. She was amazed someone youthful devised what she termed the most creative confection she'd encountered lately. I motioned round. Alicia turned backer. We secured the locale. Once a defunct lounge, I shaped the vision, crafted the offerings, recruited the crew, directed every facet from fixtures to bespoke trays. But the outlay, my dad uttered, mind hooked on numbers. A bakery this grade here must have demanded millions. For $1,200,000 startup, I affirmed. Alicia drew 2 more backers. We launched to swift praise, thanks partly to Johnny's backing and sector ties. 7 months on. Profitable. For months later, I leveraged the bakery's rise for funding and acquired the backers, full owner over a year. That's why you picked here, Jason grasped, voice faint. You knew? No. Actually, I amended. Derek selected this bakery, right, Derek? All eyes to Sophia's spouse, who flushed profoundly. I had no clue. Lena, the advisor at Sophia's outfit, suggested it as the most striking new bakery around. I vow I didn't know yours, of course not, I reassured. No kin knew my intent, but why hide? My mom urged. We're kin. We beam with pride. I couldn't curb the edged chuckle. Would you? The kin who labeled baking helps task, who severed me wholly when picking academy, who moments ago sniped at my picks. My dad coughed. Now, Lena, unjust, we fretted your security. Future, if we'd known this enterprise flair, that's my crux. I cut. You couldn't honor my zeal solo. It holds worth to you only with triumph and prestige. Then pastry lead Sophia neared in her sharp uniform. Sophia Ramirez, lead pâtissier. Stitched on the front, she cut a striking form. Pardon intrusion, Lena, she uttered. But the Yamamoto cluster's here for sampling, and the critic seeks your slot for next month's profile. Plus, your agent rang on the dessert book art. I assented. Thanks, Sophia. Tell them soon. As Sophia left, I noted mounting wonder on my kin's faces. Dessert book, Jason repeated. Out this winter with Rizzoli. I confirmed. 150 formulas with life tales. Lena, my mom started. Tone wheedling she deployed for social steering. This dazzles. Why not share sooner? We could have aided, bolstered, like you did when most vital. I queried softly by total cutoff. We deemed it transient, my dad objected. How to foresee this entrepreneurial drive? You've evidently got my commerce knack. I flared at his bid to claim merit for my win. I erected this alone. I stated resolutely. Sans your networks, funds, or backing. Kendra, oddly mute, perked. A book pack that likely brings hefty up front. In this spot, she motioned admiringly. Her prior faults forgotten. Must yield major income. Expansion plans? Maybe a chain? I know hospitality funders interested. I laughed at the blatant shift from disdain to linkage. I'm faring fine with current counselors. Thanks. I uttered. Jason glanced her irritably air back to me. So all along, while I thought you struggled, you actually thrived. Erecting this. Yes, I stated plainly. And tonight, he went on, tone firming. You let us critique your treats, bubbly list, servings, knowing yours. I aim to view your handling if thinking me can flop. I explained, and now I see. That feels scheming, he snapped, but I saw shame behind ire. More scheming than querying if I could swing here, implying debt or wealthy beau to afford this spot. I rebutted. You weren't worried. Jason, you relished presumed edge. The bakery had thinned as we spoke. Night shift closing, Paolo neared with a decanter. Your reserve brandy. Mess. Lena, he uttered. For your backers session, and Sophia says the bakery's prepped when you are. Thanks, Paolo, I answered. Tell Sophia 10 minutes. As he departed, I faced my stunned kin. I have an operation to helm, I uttered, rising. Thanks for attending, Miss Eve. Lena, hold. My mom uttered swift. Don't depart thus, we ought to toast your win. Maybe all brunch weekend. Update truly. I eyed her, seeing not the daunting youth figure, but a lady salvaging dignity and role. I'll ponder, I uttered, but now, backers await in bakery to direct. As I pivoted, Sophia rose. Lena, she uttered, voice softer. For record, this astounds what you've forged. Remarkable. Regret not backing sooner. Of reactions, hers rang truest. I nodded faint thanks ere striding from the spot where I'd just upended my kin dynamics eternally. I'd scarce gone 8 paces when heel taps trailed. Pivoting, I found my mom hastening, her composed mask fracturing. Lena, please, she uttered, voice low, can't just unleash this and depart. We must discuss. I glanced to the reserved area where my true backers, debating my next concept finance. Waited, I have a session. Mom, delay it, she demanded. This is kin. Kin hasn't ranked for you 5 years, I replied, voice steady. My commitments don't turn optional, 'cause you decided my vocation merits attention. The rest kin had trailed, forming an odd huddle by the counter. My dad looked uneasy, and used to lacking command. Jason's look teetered, twixt grudge and perhaps regard. Maybe resume tomorrow. My dad proposed in his fix-it commerce tone. Supper at ours. Much to cover, Kendra added keen, including aid for growth. My group excels and I need no aid. I cut firmly. Didn't build to win, you're not at last. Built 'cause this I adore. Excel at. Triumph doesn't abruptly validate my zeal more than 5 years back. None claims that. Dear, my mom retreated. We're merely proud of feats. Are you proud, Mom? Or eased my picks no longer shame you in circles? Her wince showed I'd struck near. Unfair, my dad inserted. We always sought your best. No, I amended. You sought what fit your view for me. Difference, Sophia materialized beside. Presence welcome brace. The Nakamura set queries if you'll join soon. She murmured, 5 minutes, I vowed. As Sophia nodded and withdrew, I faced kin. Must go. Lena, Jason advanced. Voice sans usual bite. I owe apology. Tonight's words, unkind. They were truthful. I answered. That's this Eve's upside. Saw precisely how. You view me when deeming struggling. Not fair, Sophia uttered. Entering, folks judge on known info. We didn't know. Didn't know success, I clarified, but knew I chased loved. That should have sufficed for kin to grant basic honor. Heavy quiet descended. You're correct, my dad finally uttered, startling me. Ought they ate back your zeal outcome aside. From him, this concession big. Edward Harlan admitted faults rarely. Where from here? My mom queried, true doubt in voice. Another rare. I inhaled deep, weighing, despite all, these my kin. Hurt real, but shared past too. Full cut-off never my aim. Just space to forge sans their critique clouding choices. Unsure yet, I answered true, but tonight clarified one. Any forward tie needs new terms. I'm not flop-seeking absolution. I'm thriving baker and holder meriting respect you'd give any pro, of course. My dad agreed prompt, and no more digs on picks, no unasked vocation tips, and no networking via my bakery. I added with pointed glance at Kendra, who looked chagrined. About Jason's promotion bash, my mom started hesitant. What of it? I asked. We like you there still, Jason uttered, voice mellowing. As sibling, not what we thought pre-tonight. I eyed him, peering past years' rivalry and critique. Despite good times too, childhood confidences, mutual heartbreak aid, private quips, I'll attend, I vowed. Then, post-thought, added, and if wished, could host a gathering for the team here at Lumina as my offering. Jason's eyes broadened. You'd after our treatment. You're still sibling, I uttered plainly, but clear, not seeking. Nod. Offering what I pride on my terms, I get, he murmured, honored, true smile. Eve's first, exchanged. Now, really must go, I uttered, motioning to reserved. Of course, my dad nodded. Operation first. Not always, I amended. But tonight, yes, as they collected to exit, I added, free for brunch Sunday. Not your lounge, though. Small spot in Back Bay you should try. We'll attend, my mom vowed, seeming relieved at this opening. I watched them exit the bakery. Views forever shifted as panels shut. I exhaled long, feeling oddly unburdened. Sophia neared again. All good? Progressing, I answered. Kin complex. No kidding, she chuckled. My dad still calls me his girl who serves at a cafe, like I'm slinging at a diner. I grinned, thankful for her grasp. Let's discuss autumn offerings. Got fresh concepts thrilled for. As we headed to the bakery, my refuge, my win, my real base, I grasped the Eve's key insight wasn't displaying kin what I'd forged, it was wholly acknowledging it myself. I'd crafted this win on my terms, approval aside, and that insight trumped any. They could provide. 3 weeks flew in a blur. Autumn planning, agent meets on dessert book format, and early talks on possible second sight kept me thankfully occupied. But that kin feast thoughts lingered, emerging in still times, urging contemplation. Sunday brunch fared surprisingly smooth. I'd led kin to Rico's, a dive treasure run by an old peer from early shift days. My parents visibly uneasy with eclectic seats and mural walls. But the fare, straightforward yet expertly done, swayed them. Never thought plain toast could shine so, my dad conceded, sopping last of his frittata with artisan rye. Tiny strides, not full overhaul, but gateway. Now at my standard spot post-close, I observed crew rap finals. Tomas tallied till while whistling low. Carla and Paolo debated pairings for Moro's function. Sophia departed hour back post-autumn tweaks. My device buzzed with Jason text. Bash planning chaos. Caterer hiked fee. Free for tea tomorrow? Need candid from one not just agreeing. I grinned faintly at this surprise ask for my view. Another tiny stride. I replied, setting time and venue. The kin tie was morphing to unforeseen. Not the full hug I once yearned, but perhaps richer. A balanced regard among adults with varied ideals and routes. My mom phoned 4 times past weeks, her stiffness easing to real queries on my craft. My dad forwarded a piece on women bakers shattering norms. Mute nod, he aimed to comprehend my realm, even. Sophia messaged asking to bring her kids to view the bakery sometime. Want them knowing paths vary, triumph needn't mirror for all. These fragile starts, not film grand reunion, true mending, I learned, occurs in hush instance and minor acts in slow rewrite of prior ways. The biggest shift, though, wasn't kin's view of me, but ceasing to gauge my value via their lens. The nod I once craved desperately, now oddly unneeded. I'd affirmed self not to them, but me. This insight echoed elsewhere too. I'd started a guidance scheme for budding bakers from tough starts, giving the direction and chance I'd battled for. Each Friday eve, Lumina's Bakery became classroom for 10 hopeful artists evoking my youth self, zealous, resolved, needing just belief in potential. 1. Mia showed such vow I'd granted internship. Seeing her assurance bloom per new mastery brought fulfillment distinct from any career praise. Lead. Tomas's voice drew me from musings. Set for lockup. Anything more pre-depart? No. Thanks, I beamed. You all shone tonight. As crew exited, bidding nights, I stayed at spot. Journal open to blank. I'd strive to pin the dessert books forward, hunting words to seize my arc. In the vacant bakery's quiet, I at last wrote, sweets ever my purest tongue. When speech faltered, I expressed via layers. When trails blurred, I trailed my senses. The confections herein exceed formulas. There's segments of existence chased for truth over acclaim. 5 years passed. I faced fork between norms and zeal. Picking latter cost dear initially, but yielded the fullest banquet imaginable. Not just career win, but finding that real riches isn't tallied by outer nods or gains, but by boldness to heed your voice. Even murmuring against doubt's roars, I laid pen, words streaming. Moro would fetch new hurdles, tricky supplier talk, Jason's bash drama, finalizing forward. But tonight, in this hush reflection, I sensed deep calm. The arc hadn't eased, Nights of utter where-eyed. Dozed in bakery nooks during sparse pauses. Marks and nicks leaving hand scars visible. Doubt bouts so fierce I'd queried all. But I endured, not to affirm worth to others, but unable envisioning else. In picking truth over nod, I'd unearthed something valued beyond success or kin validation. I'd unearthed me. Ever faced picking between others' norms in your heart? Share tales below, like if this struck chord. Subscribe for more real tales of endurance and victory, and pass to one needing nudge that keen nod is internal. Thanks for sharing this arc.